it's Melisa Arroyo. Welcome back to another Meli Unfiltered podcast where I talk about what's on my mind unfiltered. Today we're going to be discussing music. And so I'm kind of experimenting with the lengths of time of my podcast episodes. The last one was pretty lengthy. I believe it was like 46, 47 minutes long. I'm going to try to do it a little shorter, so longer than 15 minutes, a little shorter than 47 minutes. Let's see what happens. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on YouTube or on Spotify. So let's dig into music. So I love music. I've always been a lover of music. It's been embedded in me. My grandfather is a musician, and my great-grandfather, basically my whole dad's father's side of the family, they're all musicians. They did a lot of stuff. My great-grandpa loved violin. My grandpa plays like everything almost. Minus some instruments, like all instruments in mariachi plus also the accordion. So so many instruments. And also on my mom's side, although it wasn't really something directly musical as far as my grandfather, my grandfather's father was a violinist. So it's just, I guess, embedded in me. And not only that, but I grew up with music. Music is just so rich in my family and my culture and just in my daily life. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. And I think everyone has, especially people who love music, they have a musical evolution. I can't say that people stay the same forever. Some people do, I guess, yeah. But most people kind of, especially when you're really into music, especially for musicians, you kind of go through this like waves of different music as you're discovering different things or you're in different times of your life. So backing up to when I was a kid, let's see, I grew up with a lot of Mexican music, a lot of Latin American music, and Spanish music in general. So mariachi, huge. There is rancheras. There was norteño. There was banda. My mom loves banda. And if you're from similar culture as me, you'll know what I'm talking about. The thing is that I also grew up in LA, and I was exposed to what was going on in the 90s and in the early 2000s in LA, the United States. And oh man, so we have the grunge stuff, some metal stuff, new metal stuff, and all the Backstreet Boys, and also being a Christian, church music, of course, and Radio Disney. Yeah, okay. I don't know this. I can't say that I don't know that many people who were Radio Disney and Disney Channel people. I do know that there's a strong foundation of these people. And part of the reason why I listened to Radio Disney was because my mom was trying to make sure that I wasn't listening to things I wasn't supposed to whenever she wasn't in the room. So that also includes the Disney Channel. I was only allowed to watch certain things and listen to certain music when I was like with an adult. Which kind of brings me into this storyline too of when my aunts, they were teenagers in the late 90s, and they in early 2000s, that teens and 20s phase. And so I grew up with so much different things, whatever was going on that was trendy in the Spanish speaking side, and then also in the US as well. And not only that, growing up in East LA, oldies were a big thing. And I don't want to stereotype, but there was a lot of gangsters. And that was kind of like the thing that they kind of listened to. And it kind of is a cultural thing. And no, not everyone who is Mexican American or Chicano are affiliated with gangs in any way and adopt that style of like the Lolita look. I'll probably put pictures here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see probably. Or if not, you could just Google it. And so that kind of style was big. especially in LA, that liner lip look kind of thing. Oh, Gwen Stefani too embodied this like kind of like this hood adoption, like of the loose baggy pants, tight shirt, wearing a beanie, thick lips, especially lined lips kind of look. And that's the first person I could think of. So culturally speaking, I grew up with oldies. I grew up with the metal rock world as well as the pop world. And looking back, this foundation of this like melting pot of types of music really is why I am the way I am. I really do though adopt more of, a rocker, metal style, gothy. I don't know if gothy is a word, but I just am really drawn to it. And maybe it's because of like growing up with the grunge look at being a thing and just all that. But I just love the aesthetic. I love wearing all black. I literally am wearing all black right now. Yeah, I am. And looking back, I can say that my grandparents, my godparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, and friends too have played a role in what I'm listening to. I know that there has been like this evolution because, again, my mom tried to protect me from certain things when I was younger, but there was always like that pop punk going on Radio Disney, the stuff that was a little more acceptable for kids to listen to. I mean, I remember loving Avril Lavigne. I was like, wow, she dresses so cool. And then as she got older and I got older, I'm like, not too much of a fan of like all that pink she wears. I don't say, especially when I was younger, I can't say I dislike pink now, but when I was younger, it was more like, like I'm expected to like pink. I don't want to like pink, so I'm not gonna. And also I was forced to wear pink a lot. So that evolution of mariachi music and all the metal and rock phase of that foundation kind of played a role. And then also what I was watching, which is Disney Channel kind of stuff. So there was a lot of wholesomeness to my youth. And I'm very grateful for that. I can't say I was shielded from everything. I still grew up around certain types of people, especially when I lived in East LA and then also when I moved to San Antonio. Can't say I lived in the savoriest of sides. And so there is some stuff, how could I forget rap music? Rap music is one of them. My godmother, I haven't even dove into it. So my godfather is also in mariachi. He also loves some classic rock, and my godmother as well. And she also likes like hip hop stuff too from the late 80s, 90s. And my dad too, they have very similar, they're around the same age. So they have a lot of similar overlaps, except my godmother also loved Michael Jackson and Elvis, and my parents, most of my family, they're like, whatever. But she's the one that exposed me to both of them. And my godfather, again, with mariachi music, he was always singing. He still is. He's a singer, phenomenal singer. Look at Mariachi Mexico and America. I think I said that right. I feel like I say it backwards. Yeah, no, that's right. And if you're looking for them, I'll add the descriptions. Names in the description. But so growing up with all these different eclectic sounds have really influenced my brain. And then let's not forget about the emo and metalcore stuff that was very popular, and the indie music that was popular as a millennial. And I can say though, some of that indie music was annoying to me. I am more of a up-tempo person, and there was a lot of slow songs, and I really can't do slower tempo songs. Me and my sister kind of go back and forth to that when she's deciding music that she's listening to. Sometimes I'll get irritated. I'm like, man, that's so slow. You're going to put me to sleep. And she's like, oh, what? But for her, that's just normal music. I need up-tempo music. Maybe if you want to put me to sleep, you could put on some slower songs. So I did have this point in time. I want to say around the ages of like 14 to like 19, 18, maybe 18. Like, yeah. I was a bit of a rock and metal snob. Like, basically anything else was just like, ugh, like, whatever kind of thing. Although I secretly liked some songs. I was just trying to be hardcore. And I think there's an overlap with other people of that. Some people can relate, especially if you're a metal musician, where you kind of wanted to make sure you were putting off this image. And quite frankly, looking back, it's pretty cringy. It's embarrassing. If I could talk to myself, I'd be like, you're not as cool as you think you are. You need to chill. I probably wouldn't have believed myself, though. I mean, not that I thought I was like this type of way, like super popular and super cool or anything. I really didn't think I was that. I just knew I knew people. I didn't think I was that cool, but I didn't want to present with the image of being not cool. If that makes sense. At least the minimal amount of cool I could be, or hardcore. I think that'd be more of it. I was a mariachi. I grew up singing. Singing has always been my thing. I sang basically everything from little kid songs. I remember doing talent show. I lip synced for that, but I did a talent show in like second grade. That was my first, aside from like the ones where you're basically, what's it called? Like I don't know if you guys did this. I'm pretty sure it's everywhere in the United States, like where each class performs for like either Christmas time or for like the end of the school year or something like that, and everyone performs. But aside from that, I did a talent show, and then the next time I performed, I guess was in middle school, because I was in sports for a while, and I kind of felt like I could not do sports and music. I had to choose one or the other, and and my dad, he's an athlete. And so I was raised, he's actually a coach too now. But so I grew up with all this like emphasis on physical wellness and sports. Although there was emphasis from other people with music, there was also that underlying thing. And I felt like I had to choose one or the other. And I did sports, even though I was still listening to music. I know when I moved to Texas, because of the place that I was growing up, I listened to like hip hop and R&B for a while, because that's what was surrounding me. And then I kind of realized like, no, not for me. Oh, and I forgot about freestyle music. But anyways, going back to my musical stylings and the snobbiness that I was doing. So it all started, in high school. And that's when I was being pretty snobby, aside from also doing mariachi. And then I would like dress in the mariachi getup. Yeah. Good stuff. But I felt so out of place because less makeup. I've always done this wing liner look. Not always. Since I was like 13, it's been a signature look for me. And not having it on felt like I was naked. Now I could, but it's still my signature look, so I do it. So if you're watching, you could see the liner, but if you're listening, well, I wear wing liner, so that's my thing. You could look up pictures of me or check out the video on YouTube or find me on Instagram. So through that musical evolution, I think that I became less and less snobby as I've gotten older. Now I'm 29. I'm at the cusp of the next decade, God willing. And I can honestly say that I am not so embarrassed at the type of music I listen to. I listen from anything from jazz music, and I totally forgot about this. I when I started college, I was in music as my major. Music was my major, better said. And after some time, I listened to classic rock. right? And I listened to oldies and stuff like that. And there was some incorporated actually into because I was a vocal major technically. That was my instrument, and so like we had to be part of the choir. It was required of us to be part of a group and then do solo work. And we did Blackbird from the Beatles, and we also did a bunch of other songs that I never heard of but were really popular. And I was like, huh. And it kind of drove me to dive into other types of music because I wanted to learn more. And this has always been my thing. I love to learn, and I'll learn about different kind of things. And yes, if you are into Harry Potter, I know I sound like a Ravenclaw, but I can guarantee I'm a Gryffindor. I'm kind of like a Hermione. I could have been in Ravenclaw, but there's other characteristics that are more Gryffindor. So leaning into this less snobbery that I am now, I even opened doors to listening to reggae music, jazz music, especially big band. Big band jazz is a lot of fun, and Ella Fitzgerald quickly became one of my favorites. Having all these things, all this melting pot of music in me. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a little bit of opinionated me in there still. I will still not listen to certain musicians, and I still, if I hear something that's out of tune or just doesn't sound right to me, I will not pretend that I like it. And I'm cool with simplicity. Again, I'm more of an up-tempo person. Some of my favorite music is still metal and metalcore. I mean, currently, I think I've been listening a lot to For Today. They're pretty great. What's funny is that my friend and I were just talking about them, and he was like, who really listens to them anymore? I'm like, me. And that's another thing that I would like to talk about in the future, the music industry. As someone that's been a musician for years and years, and man, so many cringy stories and a lot of different things going on. But yeah, so I'm just going to talk about my musical preferences in this one. But yeah, the music industry is another one. And I like to talk about these through the lens, of also my faith, because my faith still has impacted a lot of what I do and who I am and what I listen to, because I want to make sure that my eyes are set on good things and to do things well and to be the best version of myself I can be and not lead myself into darkness. And so I have to be careful with the type of music I listen to, what type of artists that I support. And I'm not just saying that because of like whatever is out there about certain celebrities, but also I just don't like people who are rude and jerks. There's a lot of musicians like Ariana Grande. She seems like a jerk. I've heard a lot of bad stories. Selena Gomez, I know some people really love her. Not a fan. Taylor Swift seems like kind of like an opportunist to me, and I get that's part of the music industry, but I think she comes off as fake to me. And so I know a lot of people are not going to be happy about that, but these are my opinion. These are my observations. Take it or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt. But I really can't really stand, and I'm saying this all cringe like, but I really can't stand a lot of pop music. A lot of pop music these days gets under my skin. It's irritating or boring to me, and just like, and that's what I'm saying. There's still an opinionated side of me about it. Granted, I don't always listen to the things that are the most savoriest. I mean, there's a lot of classic rock where it's very, very hypersexual or treats women as sex objects or, piece of meat. And there's also some really beautiful love songs that are from that time era. So, I mean, like I said, some of the things that I listened to, some of my inspirations as a musician to have evolved over time. from boy bands of the late 90s, early 2000s to all the new metal people, having some of those awesome mariachi vocalists, phenomenal, full voiced, also even classic opera singers. And just really thinking about it, some of the people that really stand out to me from when I was a kid, like Rocio Durcal. Who else? I already said Avril Lavigne. Korn was big for me. Slipknot. And this is like when I was a kid. I liked NSYNC. I did. I had a huge crush, and I really liked Jesse McCartney's music. Basically, most of the artists on Disney Channel from 2003 to 2006, minus Hannah Montana. I didn't like her, or the Jonas Brothers. I'm sorry. I didn't. And Selena Gomez. I think that was the ones, or Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato actually has a wonderful voice. She is just, I don't know. I have a hard time listening to her based on a lot of the way she interacts with other people. So, nah. But those are some of the people. And then that's when I kind of switched into listening to rock music and metal music. And the big event that allowed me to really accept myself for who I am and accept my musical tastes and not feel like I have to kind of go with other people was when my cousin died when I was 12. She was 16. It was an unexpected death. I don't really feel like talking about it in this episode. But it made me realize that I needed to live my life to the fullest and be as authentic as I could. And that included being my edgy self who loves to wear black and this wing liner look. And oh my gosh, my poor hair was straightened so much, but that was more of like the style of the time. I was going more, at first it was a little more for the emo. And then over time I was in a rock era, like 80s rock era. And so I was channeling Joan Jett. And that was another one of my musical inspirations, and Paramore. I mean, I think it was rare that Paramore was not one of like female vocalists at that time era, like their inspiration. Yeah, Hayley Williams has a phenomenal voice, and so I will give her that. And she's someone that I still like. I actually just saw Paramore this year. Another band that was a big influence to me or two, 3 Days Grace, back with Adam in the band, and then also Flyleaf. Oh my gosh, when I saw Flyleaf as a Christian and as a woman vocalist, I was a girl back then, but I was 14 years old, and I remember seeing Lacey, her last name's Strum now, but Mosley back then. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this person, she's so feminine, wears dresses, and she has a beautiful voice, and she's doing metal. Because Paramore was still, it was not as heavy, at least in my opinion. It was more on the lighter end of the spectrum. And so to me, a little more poppy. And to me, it was like seeing this person who's a Christian female vocalist. I was like, this is phenomenal. I didn't know that this was possible. I'm glad that this person is here. And so that kind of channeled my idea of like, then I could do metal. And so I kind of merged into that, was in some bands and did a lot of metalcore. And again, going back, I know I talk in circles, right? Going back into that jazz, that more of like classical training of when I was in college, that's when I started allowing myself to expand more. And at that time, yeah, Ella Fitzgerald was one of the big ones that I was channeling. And then, I mean, who else? The Ronettes. How could I forget? I loved them. And so it was kind of like that oldies and jazzy voice, very powerful sounding women, so much control, but still, I don't know, just a force to be reckoned with kind of voices. And then kind of fell back into listening to more rock and metal, and here I am today. I do listen to like K-Love and Air One too, so there's some of that on my day to day. But as far as my musical preferences are very eclectic, and so I'm curious about your musical influences and interest, and I would love to chat in YouTube comments, and you could also leave some words on Spotify. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently that you could write in some stuff in there. And so I'd love to hear about your guys' ideas and thoughts and opinions on music and your journeys through music. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. I will catch you guys later. Take care.